After years of adventure, hard work, discovery, and the countless choices that shaped your journey, there comes a day when every story reaches its final chapter. Whether you chose to retire peacefully after a long and fulfilling life, or your journey ended unexpectedly before you had the chance to leave descendants, your living journal remains behind. What follows is a faithful copy of that journal, preserved exactly as it was written throughout your life. Within these pages, you will find every road you walked, every friend you made, every victory you celebrated, every hardship you endured, every opportunity you seized, and every chance that slipped away. It is more than a collection of quests and achievements. It is the complete story of one life lived in medieval Europe. No two journals are ever the same. Every decision, every conversation, every place visited, every profession mastered, and every relationship forged has helped write these pages. Together, they tell a story that belongs to you alone. If your bloodline ended with you, then this journal becomes your legacy. If future generations continue your family name, this volume becomes the first chapter in a much larger history, one that your descendants will continue to write. Long after kingdoms have fallen, cities have changed, and history has moved on, these pages remain, not as a record of a game played, but as the story of a life once lived. Welcome to The Lost Journals of Terra Draconis. The Lost Journals. Journal I. The Journal of Max Overwood. The 2nd day of May in the year of our Lord 1100. I awoke this afternoon upon a simple cot within a cottage unknown to me, my head pounding as though struck by a blacksmith's hammer. The room smelled of herbs, fresh bread, and wood smoke. As my sight slowly returned, I found a fair young maiden with hair the color of autumn fire seated beside me. She gently bathed my brow with a cool cloth and watched with kind and patient eyes. She spoke first in the French tongue, words I scarcely understood, before asking softly, "Je m'appelle?" With great effort I answered, "Je m'appelle Max Overwood." It was all I knew. Seeing the confusion upon my face, she smiled kindly and, hearing the clumsy manner of my French, changed at once to English, though her words carried a thick Irish accent unlike any I had heard before. "Do you remember who ye are?" she asked, "or why you've come to France?" I could only shake my head. "My name is all that remains," I confessed. "Beyond that, I remember nothing. No memory of my homeland, no memory of my parents, no memory of my friends, no memory of why I should awaken upon French soil when I could scarcely speak the language. It was as though my life had been swept away like footprints upon the shore." I asked whether she possessed a looking glass. Without hesitation, she handed me a small polished mirror. Only then did I discover I lay beneath the blanket with not a stitch upon me. I hastily pulled the wool tighter about my shoulders, feeling my cheeks burn with embarrassment. The young woman merely laughed softly, paying my discomfort no mind. "Ye were found upon the south road, naked as the day ye were born," she said. "Lafave, the village fishmonger, discovered ye there at first light. Thought ye dead at first. He did." She crossed the room and opened an old wooden chest, removing a plain linen shirt, woolen breeches, stockings, and a simple leather belt. "We reckoned you'd been robbed and left to die." She laid the clothing upon the bed. "Here now, best ye dress while we've food to share." Then, noticing my hesitation, she smiled once more. "And think nothing of it. I served as a nurse with the King's army these 6 years past. I've 5 elder brothers besides. I've seen more naked men than most men have." Her words, spoken without shame or mischief, eased my embarrassment enough that I dressed myself while she busied herself setting bread, cheese, and a bowl of warm stew upon the small table nearby. As I fastened the borrowed belt about my waist, I realized something that chilled me far more than the morning air. The clothes upon my back, the food upon the table, even my own name, were all that remained of the man called Max Overwood. Everything else had vanished, and with that terrible realization, my new life began. The Lost Journals, Journal Entry 2A, the 3rd day of May in the year of our Lord 1100. The good nurse and I shared bread, cheese, and warm stew long into the evening. Though but strangers to one another, she spoke with such kindness that for a little while I forgot the dreadful emptiness within my own mind. When at last the candles burned low, she bade me remain one more night upon the cot where I had first awakened. It serves no purpose to send a man wandering the roads in darkness, she said with a weary smile before retiring to her own chamber. Long after the cottage had fallen silent, sleep refused to find me. I lay staring at the beams above, wrestling with a question no man should ever be forced to answer. Should I search for the life that had been stolen from me, or should I accept that it was gone forever and begin anew? Who was Max Overwood? Was he an honest man, a husband, a father, a soldier, or perhaps a thief who deserved the fate that had befallen him? I knew nothing. The more I searched my thoughts, the darker they became, until at last exhaustion claimed me. I awoke the following morning to the comforting smell of frying potatoes and fresh bread. Nurse McMiller was already preparing breakfast over the hearth. Without looking up, she said, "Sit and eat, then off with ye." She placed a wooden bowl before me. "You've a choice to make this day. Seek the life you've lost or begin a new one." I nearly dropped my spoon. "And how?" I asked. "Did ye know I spent the night debating such a thing?" She laughed heartily. "Because, lad, ye argued with yourself loud enough to wake the saints." Apparently I speak far too freely in my sleep. Between mouthfuls of potatoes, she pointed with her wooden spoon. "If I were in your boots, I'd begin at the docks. Lefebvre, the fishmonger, found ye lying upon the south road. If anyone saw aught before ye were discovered, 'tis likely to be him." She reached into the pocket of her apron and emptied a small handful of copper pennies onto the table. I counted 30. "'Tis not much," she said, almost apologetically, "but 'tis all I can spare. Take it. It'll ease my conscience for sending ye out into the world so soon." I protested at first, but she folded my fingers over the coins before I could refuse. I thanked her, not only for the money, but for saving my life. I swore before leaving that one day I would repay her kindness. She merely smiled. Without another word, she disappeared into a corner of the cottage and returned carrying an old military knapsack, faded from years of service. Into it, she packed a week's worth of coarse bread, hard cheese, a skin of fresh water, and a small woolen blanket. "Every traveler needs a good pack," she said. Then, before I could think of another question, she ushered me toward the front door. Stepping outside, she pointed in each direction. "That road leads to the docks. This one to St. Martin's Church. Beyond there lie the farms. The market and craftsman's quarter are that way. And yon road," she pointed toward the great wooden gate standing beyond the village. "That road leads to the rest of France." She looked at me for a long moment. "Now, off with ye." Before I could offer another word of thanks, she kissed my cheek like a mother sending her son into the world, gave me a playful smack upon the backside, and closed the cottage door firmly behind me. And there I stood, a stranger in a strange land, 30 copper in my purse, a borrowed pack upon my back, no memories behind me, an entire world before me. It seemed my first journey would begin at the docks. You've just read the opening pages of One Life. If you'd like to discover what became of Max Overwood or create a story of your own, join us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Help us build Terra Draconis, a living medieval world where every character leaves behind something no other game can offer. A real written journal that tells the story of who they were, the choices they made, and the life they lived. Perhaps, years from now, you'll open your own journal, relive the life you once lived, and begin another. Links are in the description below. Join us and become part of Terra Draconis. Your story is waiting to be written.